What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to A Conversation with Pnelly, episode 2. I'm Peyton Nelson, aka Pnelly Media, and today we're going to be talking about my 2 years of covering the Minnesota Timberwolves. For those of you who don't know, I covered the Minnesota Timberwolves in the year 2022 and 2023. I covered it for a sports news outlet called 10,000 Takes, radio and TV show. My dad is a talk host on there, and so that got me the access, that got me the media pass, and I did social media for them, and then I also was just producing for them, trying to find guests for their shows, just little things like that. With that being said, if you're new here, the Conversation with Pnelly is just kind of a talk show / podcast style video. I try to keep it anywhere between 25 minutes to 45 minutes long. I know your guys' time is valuable. Most of it consists of me talking. So if you're watching this, it's just mainly going to be me talking. I'm not going to post a lot of things on the screen. I will timestamp everything down below. So if there's anything you want to hear specifically or listen to, you can check that out. I'll be posting a ton of clips where I do post, stuff on the screen on TikTok and everything, because that seems to be the new wave. You make the podcast, you clip it up, you put it on TikTok, because that's, I guess, what people want to see, which is totally cool. I'm the same way. But with that being said, this is an extra wallet, the future of wallets, and I'm going to show you guys how. The days of carrying around lots of bills in your wallet is starting to become a thing of the past. That's why I made the switch over to extra wallets. They have so many different options, and they even have one that comes with the GPS, so you never lose your wallet again. Use the discount code on the screen for an extra 5% off the site-wide sale. If you're interested, click the link in my bio. I'm trying to think of where to start with this because there's a lot to unpack. I probably won't even get through everything. I don't think I'll talk about my first viral video because that could be a separate video or podcast or talk show, whatever you want to call it, in and out of itself. So I'm just going to kind of talk about what it's like to cover sports and what I've seen, and I'll definitely make another, little thing about this too, having maybe my dad on, because he's been in the Minnesota sports scene since before I was born, and I'm 23, so I'm not trying to call him old, but he's been around, he's seen everything. He's gotten to go to Super Bowls, NBA Finals, Final Fours, the whole 9 yards. He's seen it all. So I'll have him kind of talk about what it's like. But I'm going to tell you guys what it was like for myself, what it was like in the state of Minnesota, and what I've seen, some of the other writers and everything, at the Timberwolves, because the Timberwolves media writers and all those other people, some of them, they're really, really good. A lot of them are super cool. I've talked to a lot of them. Shout out, you know who you are. Shout out Travis Singleton. Shout out Larry, But I'm going to tell you guys what I've seen them do and how much work they put in and everything, and how much work I put into in the past. So with that being said, let's get into it. I started covering the team in 2022. My dad was able to get me a media pass to come and do some social media, just some social media updates, some photography, whatever. And by photography, guys, I mean roam around the stadium, because with the media pass, you get the access of being able to roam. I wasn't sitting courtside with the big camera. I was literally using my iPhone or my, I have a camera now, but I was using my school's camera, but just some stuff to throw up on the internet, throw up for columns. But I was just kind of giving score updates, and I wasn't super into it. I know that sounds crazy to some people. I love sports. I love watching sports, but I'm more of an atmosphere guy. I love watching the intros and the fans getting loud. I'm not a big oh, I know the stats, I know that whole line. I have ADHD and dyslexia, guys. There's no way I can read a whole stat line and post about it and whatever. If you guys look at my TikTok, I post stuff, or I spell stuff wrong all the time. So I'm not doing the stat stuff. I'm kind of just finding unique things to post for them, and enjoying my time down there, making sure I'm respectful, trying to make connections. But I kind of would just go down there. I was also juggling college wrestling and school at the time, and my school was an hour away from the stadium. So there was a lot of drive time involved. So I would go down there, and I just kind of let's just enjoy it, maybe watch the game a little bit, whatever. And then one day I was just kind of sitting there, and I was like, man, I'm super grateful to have this opportunity. Why don't I do more with this? Why don't I actually try a little bit harder? A lot of people would kill to be in this position that I'm in. So I'm let's give this more of a go. So I started posting a lot on social media for them and everything. And this is 2022. We had Pat Bev and we had D'Angelo Russell were the other two big name players on our team. Obviously we had Cat still, and then Ant was starting to blossom. And there was a little bit of a buzz around the Timberwolves in the Twin Cities. A lot of people were starting to get into it, especially knowing that we had a chance to get into this NBA play-in tournament, which was kind of a foreign concept for us. So we were holy crap, things started to kind of pick up. And then I also started to put two and two together that, when the opposing teams come to town, like Milwaukee Bucks, Phoenix Suns, or LA Lakers, I got to go to those games because they all have star players too, especially LeBron does really well. Anything LeBron seems to do really well on social media. If it wasn't for LeBron, honestly, my personal social media account, Pnelly Media, would not be where it's at now, because I've had like 2 or 3 viral videos of literally it's just LeBron like doing some crazy stuff, a dunk, or him. I don't know if you guys have seen the NBA or the LeBron's in playoff mode video from last year, but that was me that took that video. That got me a ton of, followers and likes and everything. So I started going a lot. I would get there early and stay late. And this kind of brings me into my next, thing I wanted to talk about, the process of actually like covering a team. I would get there really early because I'd want to get there for shoot around, because if you can get there for shoot around and get videos, there's no fans, there's very minimal media around you, and you can just kind of sit in the stands and just get shots, get whatever, the players are doing. I started posting videos of the players doing a dynamic warm up, showing people what that was like. So I would get there pretty early, and then I'd start editing, because a lot of the stuff I do, I'd get shots of and I'd start editing and putting it up, because it's timeliness stuff, guys, especially when you're posting, physical, pictures and videos. It's all timeliness. There's other games going on around the world. You gotta get it up. So I would get there early. I'd get my stuff, and then I would start posting, and then I'd wait for the players to come out, and then because warm-ups offer a ton of content. Tremendous amount of content. So I'd get in position for warm-ups, because now when the team actually comes out and warms up, especially if it's a team like the Lakers, you're fighting with, well, not fighting, but like you're wrestling for space with fans, security guards, other members of the media, and it's all in good fun. But you're trying to get the best shot, you're trying to get a nice viral video. And luckily for me, my forte was finding things that are different, the different types of things to post. I'm not the type of guy that's going to post about the stat lines and this and that. I just leave that up to the pros. I can barely read the stat line. I got ADHD and dyslexia, guys, so I'm kind of like more looking for what type of shoes is LeBron wearing, or what color Gatorade LeBron likes to drink, or like Anthony Edwards, like what's his warm-up routine, sort of unique things like that you guys won't get to see. And I feel like my content resembles that, and it has played to my advantage, I feel like, and I love doing it. But with that being said, lots of editing. So basically, if you're sitting there at the game and you think you're going to be able to watch the game as a member of the media, I know from my experience, that's not the case. You do watch a little bit of the game, but let's just say there's something going on and you're recording and there's a nice dunk or a nice alley-oop. You're then right then and there, SIM card goes out of the camera, goes into the laptop, edit, boom, airdrop that video to your phone, and then post that video up on all the socials that you can. It's a lot of work, and I did not watch a lot of the games, guys. I will say I was definitely head down looking at my laptop. Luckily, I had my best friend Colin and my dad there as well to kind of point things out in case I missed it. But that's just from my experience and what I've seen other writers do and other not content creators, but other news outlets doing. Or they take a lot of notes during the games. They're giving little updates and everything like that. So some people watch it a little more. If you're a writer, you're definitely going to watch the game a little bit more than maybe someone who's doing social media. But a lot of these people, these people get there real early. A lot of these NBA, writers and journalists and everything, they're getting there really early. They get there earlier than me, because before the game, for those of you guys who don't know, there's a press conference with the coaches, and the coaches would have this press conference. They'd talk about who's in, who's out, maybe the last game that was played, the game plan for tonight. And so, that goes on like, I think 3.5 hours before the game. And like, not to mention having the park and everything. So you're there probably, if the game starts at like 7:30, you're going to get there at like 4:30 to make sure you're there at that press conference. And then you do your work after that press conference, and then you're there for warm-ups, boom, during the game. Then after the game is where you got to make sure you're on your toes. You got to make sure you don't dilly-dally. You can't talk to people. You got to get right to that post-game press conference. That's what I've seen a lot of people do. I wouldn't go to the post-game press conference every single game. I'd like to stick around outside, see what I can see. But a lot of these people who, go to every single game, they're there and they're putting in that work. And not to mention, after the post-game press conference is when the locker room opens up. And so that's a whole nother deal in and out of itself too, because once that locker opens up, you're fighting for space, this and that. I haven't been in the Timberwolves locker room. I didn't get access to that, but I do have, I did have access, I should say, because the season's over, to the Minnesota Wild locker room, which is the same thing. You go in there and you got to get these interviews, whatever, and all of a sudden you got these interviews. Oh, great! Like, boom, you got to get back to the computer. You're throwing these up. Now, ideally, you have a team that you could probably send that off to or whatever, but I didn't have a big team. So I was, getting these interviews up and everything like that. And, people are still sticking around. I've seen like some of these reporters stick around till 12:30, 1 in the morning. I've done it myself, especially with those games that start later. There are reporters that will go to a Timberwolves game that starts at, let's just say 9:10, and they're there till 1 in the morning. And then guess what? Oh, the Twins play a day game the next day, and you need to get there early to hear the coach speak or something like that, or get a certain shot. You're gonna go home, you're gonna go to sleep, and you're gonna wake up and you're gonna get right to that Twins game. So covering sports is definitely a lot of fun, but it definitely is a lot of work, and maybe some people might not realize that. That's why I tried to vlog as much as I could. Now, like I said, take my experience with a grain of salt, because I wasn't necessarily getting paid, nor was I doing it full time, because I was a full-time student and athlete at the time. So there was a lot that I was juggling with. So I just did what I could. My schedule sort of resembled, some of those who actually cover the team for a job, but not quite. But I know like someone like my guy, Travis Singleton, aka Sneaker Reporter, he posts a lot about, basketball and everything, and a lot about the players' shoes that they wear. I've seen this man. You want to talk about someone that grinds? This man has grinded. I've seen his followers go crazy since a lot since last year compared to this year. And he's there at every Wolves game, every Lynx game. He's there early, getting pregame shots, postgame shots, everything like that. And I've seen it. It takes a lot, and this is not to deter anyone from covering sports. I'm just saying, it takes a lot of work. But in anything, to be good at it, you got to work hard. So that's kind of what it's like, the side of covering the actual, covering sports in general, but what it was like covering the Timberwolves. For myself, it was, I'm going to kind of talk about, the growth of the actual Wolves themselves, because I got to see, from the Pat Bev days. Well, I mean, I've been a fan since, I was a kid, but I'm talking when I'm covering the team from the Pat Bev days. Ant still got dreads, whatever, to all the way to, holy crap, Ant's dunking on everyone, Cat and Rudy are throwing up lobs and this and that. I've gotten to see the whole growth, and sort of we knew after that playing tournament, or we knew after that playing game, the first one, that we were like, oh, we got something here. We might finally have something. This is exciting, guys. I've never seen a state get so excited for just one, play-in game, given I was excited too. So I can't lie, but we won that game and then ended up obviously losing to, I forget who we lost to that next round. Oh, Memphis. Yep, we lost to Memphis. And during that first round in Memphis, the whole state, everyone had signs in their yard, everything like that. Just for the first round, that's how excited we knew about this team. Season ended, boom, we trade for Rudy Gobert. Some people love the trade, some people don't. I didn't really have an opinion. I was just like, all right, I'm just locked in on covering this next season, because I know, the opportunity this holds. And this is before the Wolves kind of got mainstream. They're mainstream now. Whether you like it or not, the Timberwolves are mainstream media now, at least for now, I should say. So this is before, Cat and Ant were getting posted a lot, and Rudy getting posted a lot. So 2023 season was fun. Still was juggling school and everything like that. But that one was a fun one to cover, and it was a lot of back and forth. But we knew, okay, 2023 expectations were high. Now, unfortunately, I say the Wolves didn't reach those expectations at all. Naz Reid got hurt at the end of that season, and then you had the whole fiasco with Rudy punching Kyle Anderson, which was a very wild time to be a member of the media, because all I remember when that happened was we were sitting there, and then we saw a little scrum up towards the bench, and it was immediately Twitter, just people typing boom, 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 boom. And then eventually someone finally saw actually what happened. So that was kind of a fiasco. Obviously they're chilling now. Shout out to Rudy, shout out to Kyle Anderson. Brothers fight. That's what happens. Brothers fight. I fought with my younger brothers all the time. So brothers fight. But that was a crazy time when that happened, being a member of the media. But after that season had ended, we had lost to Denver. It was we knew what we were capable of, and in the state and in the media, we all kind of knew. It was the same feeling of okay, if this off season we can really just work on some things, and obviously team bonding, everything like that, this could be dangerous. This could be very dangerous. And that's around the time when Kat said, like, effing watch us win this title. You know what I mean? Everyone was laughing at him for saying that, blah, blah, blah. But now look at us, Western Conference Finals, starts tomorrow. Super excited. But so we kind of knew, we knew before anyone else. It sounds weird to say, but like, it's this weird feeling that everyone, kind of chatter about, at work and at, within the media, is you kind of just knew, okay, like, we can make this work. And so sure enough, this season comes around. I'm not covering the team anymore, but my dad and my best friend are, and it was the same thing, and it's electrifying. They told me that every game was pretty much sold out. I went to a lot of games this year. Bought tickets, whatever, because even though I'm going as a fan, there's still tons of content opportunity. For example, tomorrow I'm going to vlog everything for you guys. But as far as this season, it, has been a ton of fun just watching the team. But as far as being a member of the media, lots and lots of work. With having a media credential, I'll talk about some of the access that you get before I wrap up. Having a media credential, there's different like types, there's the all access, there's just media, there's photo credentials, everything like that. I had just the general media credential, which got me in the building early. It got me, access all throughout the stadium, and it got me access to the post-game press conferences. And seeing that type of stuff, fortunately, I've been around, the sports scene because of my dad a lot. I've seen a lot of professional athletes, and this is in no way, shape, or form to brag. It's just I've been able to, been very fortunate to see and see and hear a lot of things. I kind of was like, definitely still a little like wide-eyed, but at that point I was like, oh, okay, like, we're here, we're just old enough now to actually do work. But going to those post-game press conferences and asking questions is a lot more nerve-wracking than you think. I remember the most nervous I think I've ever been to ask a question at a post-game press conference probably is when I asked a Pat Bev a question. And I believe we had just won a game. I don't know what game it was. I can try to find it. I know they post all these all the press conferences on the internet, but I remember I asked Pat Bev a question. It was about, I believe I worded it like, you play with such great intensity. What makes you, motivates you to go out there and play with that intensity every single night? And I remember he just had got done playing a game, and he was kind of sitting there, and he slowly looked over, because I was in the corner. He slowly looked over, and his eyes were wide open, just staring right into my soul. And I was like, oh my God, is this guy's gonna barbecue me? Maybe I asked the wrong question. I thought my question was good, but no, he responded really well. He was super chill. He was like, I forget what he said, but he said something about he does it for his mom and his past and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay. Super, super awesome question. I've asked him a couple other questions before too. Super dope guy. I miss covering Pat Bev, especially when he's on the Wolves. He was a fun person to cover for sure. But, and then definitely I've asked Ant a couple questions, and I stuttered during those, and I was like, damn, but Kat, I would say, is my favorite because, I collect sports cards. He collects sports cards. So I was able to kind of ask him a couple questions about that. And, that was cool. And so then I finally, I think maybe stood out a little bit more compared to some of the other people, but yeah, it's definitely, the access you get is insane. Having locker room access would be really cool too. And you have to act professional. I always would act professional. Never, you can't ask for autographs. You can't ask for pictures. If you start to get to know some of the players and they're friendly towards you and everything, then you can kind of, go from there, feel it out, whatever. But it's, that's against the rules to ask for autographs or pictures or anything. You have to hold yourself in a professional manner, no matter what. I had a lot of fun covering them. Another cool story I guess I kind of have is my guy, Sneaker Reporter, aka Travis Singleton. He has been covering teams for a while. He used to cover the Thunder, and he's actually good friends with Paul George. And I remember one time, he kind of took me under my wing, or took me under his wing, and he was like, yo, after the game, I'm going to go talk to PG. Could you come and record it for me? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Why wouldn't I do that? So, the game ends. I'm with Travis, and we're waiting outside the Clippers locker room, waiting for Paul George. And I'm sitting there, and the Clippers are doing their post-game workout. They're doing it in the hall, which for those of you guys who don't know, in the NBA, after each game, I wouldn't say each game, but a lot of games, I've talked to the trainers, and they're like, hey, we do post-game workouts. It's good for the body, good for recovery, whatever. Nothing intense, just like 30 to 40 minutes. But we're standing there. The Clippers are doing their workout. We're waiting for PG outside of the Clippers locker room. And I remember, I'm standing there, and Kawhi came out, and, he was just towering over us. And we were right outside the locker room, and he just kind of looked over us like that. And I was like, oh, man, that's Kawhi. In my mind, I can't, be, physically, I can't be like, oh, my God, Kawhi, because I'm going to get my stuff taken away. But, it was cool. Kawhi walked by, and so we were waiting there for PG. And all of a sudden, Karl Anthony Towns walks by. And at this time, he still had his injured calf. This is in the 2023 season. And Cat walks by and he sees Travis. Travis, he knows a lot of people on the Wolves. He's cool with all of them. So Cat walks by and he's like, oh, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And he stood there with us and he's like, yeah, I'm waiting for PG. And he's like, and then Travis was like, oh, I'm waiting for PG too. We're waiting for him as well, this and that. And so sure enough, it's me, Sneaker Reporter, and Karl Anthony Towns all just standing in this hallway, just chopping it up. That's when I really started asking Kat about sports cards, because he collects sports cards. So I was like, and I do too. I know I said that earlier. And so we're talking about that, whatever. And Karl Anthony Towns, super cool guy, down to earth, super chill. We didn't really talk much about basketball. We just talked about random things for 5 minutes. And then sure enough, Paul George comes out, and then I go do the job I was supposed to do. Got the video, super cool video. Travis talking to both of them, Paul George and Karl Anthony Towns. So I got that video for him, and that was pretty cool. It was just one of the perks of, being a member of the media. I tried my best down when I was down there to make as much connections and make as many friends as I could. While I was down there, so very fortunate, like I said, and I realized that, I might not have that access if it wasn't for my dad. And so I'm glad that I can do that and still do that. I'm moving to a different state though, so we'll see if I can still be able to, get in and try to, produce the best content for the page and, everything like that. But so yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I was thinking maybe I'll touch a little bit on how to, become a member of the media. But honestly, guys, I know that for me, my story is a little different because one, I don't do it full time. Two, I had, my dad be able to give me the access, which is super great. And so I don't really want to sit here and be like, oh, you got to do this and you got to do that in order to get media passes, because I truly I have an idea, but I don't quite know. And maybe in another video, I can give advice on how to, what I would do if I was trying to get, access to these type of events. But it truly just, if you work for a sports news station, you just have to get a job for a sports news station that covers the team. And, you just have to be in the position within your job that goes to the games, if that makes sense. So I would love to sit here and spit knowledge about how to do that, but I'd rather, have a guest on that actually knows the real best way to do so. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you guys listening to me yap for almost 25 minutes. Very excited for the Timberwolves game tomorrow. I'm going to vlog it. I am going to go by myself, so I'm going to kind of give away the video, but I'm going to attend the Western Conference Finals Game 1 by myself. Just cause, a little different, see what it's like to go to a game by myself. Obviously, my dad and my best friend are going to be there, but they're going to be covering the game as media. So I'm going to be busy. I might say what's up to them, but I'm going to be standing there by myself. Stay tuned for that. I'm going to vlog it, show you guys, what it was like, how much the tickets were, how much, parking is and food there and everything. I don't know if I'm going to eat there. I've tried to eat before just to save money, but we'll see. But with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed me talk about kind of my 2 years of covering the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I, can have some guests on here in the future that cover the team as well, and they can kind of go more in depth about some things that maybe I didn't touch on. But it's been, let's see what the camera says, almost 26 minutes now on the dot. You guys got places to be. I got places to be. Keeping this short and sweet on the Pnelly, or on the Conversation with Pnelly talk show. With that being said, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on all my socials. Link in the description. And have a great rest of your day.